Okay, good evening, y'all. This is Ron. It's a little after 6, so we'll get started on this Monday, December 23rd, a couple of days before Christmas. Uh, I'm gonna start off. I'll ask if we're having questions in a minute. But you ever thought about what is living? What does it mean to live? Are we living? Are you living? Is that it's an individual thing, I guess. I was reading something this morning, and this guy said, my father didn't really die. He just never understood living or never grasped living, something to that effect.
Hmm.
And that stopped me. I was like, wow. And it made me kind of take stock of myself. So we go through life, we get up in the morning, we run, run, run. We got this to do or that to do. We think about this or that, or something's going on seemingly all the time. Uh, and I think I thought about this group probably more so than others, because as Kathy introduced us to the phrase sitting with it, but we talk about our meditations. In other words, knowing how to slow down and not hopefully being totally bombarded with things. And please know that I'm talking to me, because I think I analyze everything to death and sometimes find a problem for every solution. But I'm better at it, getting there. But I just thought that was interesting. What is living? What is it we all do? We're busy, but are we doing what we should be doing? Individual thing to answer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ron, this is Charles.
Hey, Charles.
Now, Rep taught on that, but I don't think got mostly what he had said about living.
Uh-huh.
Uh, he, I'm thinking that he had said something like, you don't quote me, is you enjoying life or you just living? I mean,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
knew he taught on. Now you probably asked him, what he said once he come on,
Uh-huh.
if he can.
And that's totally my point, Charles, especially in this today's climate of politics and the election and all the things that the news it seems to have one shocking thing after another, one car plowing into a crowd of people here and one person doing this or that. It just things seem to tow at your energy and kind of weakens you a little bit. Just seem like one breath at a time sometimes. And yeah, just a thought.
I feel you. I definitely feel you.
But,
Ron,
but
this is Evelyn.
hey, Evelyn.
Good good afternoon, family, or good evening. I see life as experience, something that you're experiencing.
Yeah.
Um, isn't that the reason why we're here to experience so Elohim can experience? So yeah, that's what I see it as. Life is
Yeah,
something that we experience.
I couldn't
That's
agree
my
more.
answer.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
that's my answer. Thank you.
But anyway, just something I thought I'd share with you. Any other questions on anything? On
Good
yesterday,
evening.
I'm sorry, go ahead, George. I didn't think it about
Yeah, good
happening.
evening, everyone. This is GC in Philly. And I was just pondering, what you were saying in terms of living. And I'm truly, and I'm sure we're truly grateful, that we can appreciate, our purpose for living is to be able to, love others and to love ourselves. But then we get sometimes caught up in the wants and the needs.
Yeah,
And as I think about living today, there's things that, we chase after. We chase after money. We chase after the things of the world. But being able to just have your peace of mind, just to be able to, live and enjoy the moments, that we can truly appreciate what are we living for. And I
Yeah.
think that as I appreciate this journey that I'm on now, it's just a, blessing to have the encounters that we are having, being able to spiritually, grow and not have to chase after things of the world in that sense where that's what we call living. But that was just on my mind when you were talking about that thought or that question. So I just wanted to share those thoughts.
Thank you, George. Thank you, sir. I couldn't agree more. I am truly thankful for this group and our discussions on this phone that show us a true purpose for living and what we're supposed to be doing. So we don't have time to uh, just totally be absorbed in self and selfishness and follow the examples of our leadership, whether it's coming in the church or outside of the church. Uh, so I think you guys keep me grounded a lot, and I'm grateful for that. But thank you. Anyone else?
Ron, this is Val. I got a question.
Yes,
I was
ma'am.
reading the scripture in Proverbs, the first chapter, 7th verse, and he was saying, it says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. What does that mean? I mean, I know that the fear doesn't mean for you to be afraid,
Yeah.
but the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge.
Anybody? Where was it again, Val? Proverbs.
Proverbs, the first chapter, the 7th verse.
Okay. Anybody want to look at that? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. I'm reading from the New American Standard. Looking at. Fear is talking about being in awe, just giving reverence and respect. Uh, it does say it also does mean be afraid though. But to me, when it talks about knowledge, it's talking about making space for, having a relationship with. Um,
Ron, excuse me, we're getting some feedback from somewhere.
yeah, can everybody make sure your phones are muted, please? Thank you. So I guess the word knowledge is what got my attention there, because knowledge is saying uh I've reached a point where I acknowledge who the Lord is and who I am, and I see that we are one. And that intimacy is speaking, the intimacy of knowledge is I've made space for this. In other words, I have challenged myself with all the things that I thought were valuable to me. And I see now something that is far more valuable, and that is me seeing and finding myself. So that is the new beginning, of the beginning of wisdom. Oh, can somebody help me out? What do you guys see in that?
Yeah, again, good evening, everyone. This is George, GC in Philly. That particular verse, when I think about knowledge, it also references in terms of understanding.
Yeah,
And I see it, in a way that spiritually, sometimes, I may say to myself, I am George Clark, right? But when I say I am, I look at the reverence of the creator, the reverence of Elohim, or I look at it in that way that I can look at my higher self in terms of knowing that, again, our names have its purpose, but there's even that name, that we can reference in terms of the spirit that helps us to appreciate wisdom and understanding. Now, in Proverbs, is the book of wisdom, but it also referenced that she shall preserve you. And so I look at it in terms of that knowledge and that understanding, that when we can appreciate, the cosmic mother, when we can appreciate the femininity, when we can appreciate, women, or, humanity, she shall preserve you. And I think that has a lot of, relevance in terms of why balance is so important. And so again, when I hear, the word knowledge, in all of your wisdom, get understanding. And
Yeah.
so I just, wanted to share those thoughts, for the purpose of our conversation, but hopefully, that resonates a little bit. I'm done.
No, thank you, George, because you're absolutely right. Wisdom and understanding go hand in hand. You have received nothing until you gain understanding. I totally agree with what you said. Anybody else? Anybody see something else in those verses? Okay, Val, that's what we have. If you, what we'll do is bring it up again, Proverbs 1 and 7. We'll bring it up again when everybody is on the line, and see if we get some more insight into it. Okay, that'd be
That was
okay.
good, Ron. I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's good. What was given to me, I appreciate that.
Okay. I have come to love that word knowledge. It speaks of, as George says, understanding. It speaks of an intimacy. It speaks of a releasing, a letting go. Uh, it talks about making space for something. Uh, Whether you're talking about entering a relationship with somebody, or you're trying to learn something new, you make space for it. You say, that doesn't mean what I thought it meant. So I free my mind because I get rid of what I thought it meant, and I open myself up for, as George say, the understanding as it is explained to me, and I ask questions, or I experience it by living it, uh, what it truly means. So it's a beautiful word, and we see it all through scriptures, and it's one of those things you just kind of overlook sometime if you're not careful. Good question.
And also, as we're speaking about this particular verse, in the concordance, knowledge is referred to, our perception of things. It refers to our discernment, of things. And so again, as we appreciate, our senses, as we appreciate the, the skills, the discernment, that helps us to be even, more aware of what, the particular verse is speaking about. But I think it all, again, works together, for the good in terms of our desire to seek, knowledge and wisdom and understanding. I'm done, Bob.
That's a great observation. With that, when you talk about discernment, it kind of reminds me of a parable. Somebody can lay a truth out there, and we all grasp part of what it means. But as we mature, as we chew on it, we see it, slightly different until maybe we talk about it and we put all those pieces together. but I see the truth as because of my experiences, Val sees, according to her experiences, George, and so forth and so on, but we bring all of that together. Uh, my thoughts on knowledge first came when it says, and Adam knew his wife. Or if somebody were to come to you and say, hey, your spouse is out there robbing a bank, you might say, well, I'm not doubting the bank is being robbed, but it's not being robbed by my spouse because I know my spouse. I have an intimate relationship. I know that person. We are one. So it can't be my person you're talking about because I know that there is no doubt there. So when you talk about know to me, knowing to me is truth. It is understanding to a point where uh, I have value in this relationship. There is something there that I cherish and I hold on to. And again, whether that, example of learning something new or example of a person. Thank you for the question.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Any other questions?
Yeah, Ron, I don't have a question, but
Uh-huh.
I'm feeling it very strongly in terms of, what was brought up, with regards to Proverbs 1 verse 7.
Yes, sir.
And I'm basically looking at it from the King James Version. Normally I look at the American Standard, but it says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction.
Mm.
And verse 8 says, my son, hear the instructions of thy father and forsake the law of thy mother. Now, as we've been speaking in reference to the Kemetic and the Cushite teachings, we have mentioned in the past where we said Amun. So in the Aramaic, it talks about the mother-father, oneness, with regards to our knowledge and our wisdom. And I think that it's, I don't think it's coincidental that we're speaking about the importance of balance.
Right.
And I think that that's where sometimes, we miss the mark because sometimes we're looking at it in terms of just, from a masculine perspective or just from a feminine. But when we talk about the oneness of who we are we hearing the instructions, of our mother, and the father in that oneness that they are as far as the Kemetic and Cushite teaching. Does that make sense, Ron? Or
Yes, it
everybody?
does.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
make sure I'm getting in my spirit. I'm done.
Yeah, because to me, when you said that, to me, balance is something that's hard to describe or define. But you said the oneness of your mother and father. I think that's it in a nutshell. It's becoming one, and that is the strength, recognizing that oneness. I won't even say unity because unity sounds like two things coming together. But I'm saying oneness, it can't be separated.
Right. Okay. No, but I appreciate the question. I mean, really, this
Yeah.
really kind of moved my spirit to give some thought to that.
Yeah.
I'm done. Sorry, I'm done.
No, you fine. You opened it up, brought more clarity to it. Thank you.
Ron, this is Evelyn again.
Hey.
I would like to make a comment.
Okay.
I thank Pastor and you and the teachers and the family for bringing us all to a point because I'm feeling this tonight. We all are at the point where we have gratitude. We had current affairs during the year 2024, and I do believe we all are moving toward having gratitude. Even out of the scripture that Val quoted, I see gratitude in that once you get the understanding, once you get to be intimate with the Creator, the oneness, I just feel that we all have gotten to the place now. We moved toward gratitude. We all are grateful. And it's not because of things, it's because of the family that we have, what we've experienced. And it has caused a lot of us to grow into that, being grateful. I just wanted to make that comment because that's what I'm feeling tonight. And even you started off saying something about grateful, having gratitude.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
something we didn't talk too much about, but I do feel that we're at that place now because we're in another place. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for listening.
Well, from a very, very personal space in me, Evelyn, I couldn't agree more. Gratitude is what keeps me going sometimes. And when you feel weighed down and you stop and you breathe, and I think, wow, you have a lot to be thankful for. And just remembering the voices on this phone, remembering uh the mindset now, the place that these studies have put me in, and recognizing, you know what, you're not going back there. You're not going back to that place in your mind where you are saw nothing but doom and gloom. You're in a better space now. So I couldn't agree more. And especially at this point in time, on the eve of a new year coming, and we're ending this year with something extremely positive, and that is this election thing kind of shook us for a minute, but we landed not only on our feet, but we landed on higher ground. And that has given us an opportunity to grow even further and see even more and stand out with the boldness of who we are and the intent of why we are here. So gratitude is right up there with all of that. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think this is an excellent time in our study to recognize it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Ron, this is Val again. Was
Hey,
that
Val, again.
Evelyn?
Yes.
Okay. And I hate to use this word funny, but that's the only word that can come to my mind. It's funny that she said that because before I even got on the call, I was just sitting in my living room and I was just thinking about grateful, being grateful. And then my thing, and I was thinking of what's the difference between being grateful and thankful? Because can you be grateful for people, or should you be grateful for people, or are you thankful for people? I
See them as one and the
was just
same.
trying to get wanting examples, what is being grateful, and then what is being thankful, of course. I'm thankful for life. Thankful, we always say I'm thankful for whatever, but now it's being grateful and thinking,
Val,
thinking more of being grateful.
I see it as another way of saying the same thing. Can anybody shed any light on that? Is there something different that you see, maybe? No?
Ron,
Well,
to me, grateful resonates. This is Evelyn again. To me, grateful resonates with me more deeply. I mean,
okay.
I'll be thankful, but for me, grateful, it just resonates with me more. And I use it more than I use the word grateful more than I do thankful, if that makes sense.
Okay. Thank you, Evelyn. Anyone else? Okay. Yeah, I think they're interchangeable. One might be a stronger word than another. If I can think about it, I'll look them up and we can talk about it further, Val.
Yeah, but I think also, Ron, for us to be on the call and we look at gratefulness and thankfulness, and it could be in that similar way when we look at the translations of the Bible. I mean, we speak about the American Standard Bible, we talk about the NIV, we talk about the Message Bible, and words are powerful. And I think
Yeah.
that because we all appreciate our desire to want to know the meaning and the power of words, but that would be the same like if we looked at the different translations. So I see it in that way too, that sometimes, it may be much stronger, when we share our readings in terms of what translations we may be reading from, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking, I have gratitude for this. I am thankful for this. Uh, I think conveying it, at least in the English language, is kind of uh, taken in the same vein, with the same meaning. But that is interesting. Maybe it's something I'll look at. Okay. Anyone else? Any other questions or comments for that matter?
Ron, this is Cheryl. I'm sorry, I'm moving around, taking care of my daughter, but I was thinking, I'm thankful for many things, but for me, I now have an attitude of gratitude. And to me, that for me is a difference. It's not really a difference, but I mean, if you want to split hairs, it's
Yeah.
like, because I'm thankful, I'm thankful for all of the good things that have happened in my life. I'm even appreciative of some of the bad things because they have changed me in good ways. So I'm thankful for that. But especially, after the election when we were all having our issues, um, I realized that it's my attitude. My knowledge and my understanding has affected my outlook. It's affected my
Yeah.
attitude. And I have an attitude of gratitude so that everything, my approach now is gratitude. So it removes that negativity. And so, that's the difference for me. I'm done.
Thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate that. While you were talking, I did look it up. When you look up thankful, one of the synonyms for it is gratitude. Same thing with gratitude, one of the synonyms for, and I hope I'm saying that right, synonym and not the other word, but for it is being thankful. So I think we're saying the same thing, just a different way of saying it. And you're right, gratitude does seem to carry more strength or a more powerful way of saying it. I guess because we are so familiar with saying thank you, thank you, thank you. It's such a common word to us. But thank you, everyone. Don't want to miss anybody though. Anyone else? Something that I thought was interesting on yesterday. Uh, one of the things we talked about was Evelyn's question when she brought up the Pope and those five portals, and it started just a whole started my head to turn and looking at different things. Uh, what year was that? Was that 2011, y'all, when we met in Columbia? And we kind of we kind of refocused ourselves, and the teachers met, and it was around this time of year. I can't remember the exact date. I think Barb remembers the exact date, but I don't remember the exact date. But if you guys remember, uh, things seem to change from there. Like I said, my term is we became refocused. We went from I- and I'm just, that's my summation. We went from just studying scriptures to looking more at the universe and seeing things from a different perspective. And so from there, uh, that too happened during the winter solstice. If you not on that particular day, maybe, but in that season. And so I was looking at that and I was thinking, uh, since that has happened, we've seen so many things. And I think of all the portals that opened for us that night. And the portals that opened for us that night had a lot to do with what we could see from that point on. We started looking at African history from a totally different perspective. We started seeing the planets from a different place. The age of Aquarius, we gained understanding of it. We talked about the stars. We talked about the lining up of planets. We so many things I can't think of, but all of these things lined up for us. And the artificial means of doing that is to say that a religious person opens up a portal. That's artificial. We didn't have to do anything artificial. The universe did it for us based on our faith and our desire to see truth and our desire to bring understanding and loving kindness into the earth. So all the portals that needed to be open were open then. And uh, I just got to looking at that and the number uh, this thing happened Saturday night at 12:21, but it happened, George, at 4:21 a.m. The number seven. 421, number seven. I thought that was interesting. I did not look up the year, month, and that number, but I just thought that was interesting. The five portals, uh, five talks about power and strength, and it talks about alertness. And Pastor on yesterday, and I was trying to remember because I didn't have to have time to go back and listen to the tape talking about being awoke. But it talks about alertness, talks about waking up. Five talks about going forth or going forward. Uh, it talks about being fruitful. So all of these things, the religion of the world is trying to bring forth, and that's what it wanted to look like. Five, also the Hebrew letter, fifth letter is Hey, and it has a numerical value of five. And Hey is air, spirit, breath, and two things that I saw with Hey that I thought was very interesting. Hey also talks about femininity. Ironically enough, femininity. Uh, it also means to open something or to make something known. So I guess that goes with alertness and waking up. But I just thought that was interesting, that maybe what they don't realize or understand in their own little I don't know the word for it, artificial way of doing things, artificial way of seeing spiritual things, uh, it really sounds like what we did, they're trying to line up with without even knowing it. So I just thought that was interesting when you go back and look at that, look at it from a spiritual and a factual perspective as to uh, what we did and what does it mean that they tried to line up to that or open up their own portals, not even knowing what they're doing. Because I would love to know what is the motivator behind that. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. Any questions or comments about any of that?
But Ron, they're gonna do it New Year's Eve, which is tomorrow, I think. From what I saw.
Now you say
Yeah.
New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve? So that you
I'm
mean
sorry, Christmas Eve. That's
Christmas
Christmas
Eve?
Eve. I apologize. Yes.
Okay, okay. Isn't that interesting? Well, I tell you, like we as a people, a lot has gone on in the earth since in the beginning, and a lot of it has been torturous and cruel and inhuman, and all of that is in us. We carry that weight still. The African today in this earth carries that weight. But if you look and see yourself from the inside out and not see the world from the outside in, we see our strength. It kind of goes back to where how we started this evening, looking at what life really is and where life has brought us as a group of people on this phone. Uh, there is nothing that can calm us. There is nothing that has power against what we're doing right now. No matter if they open up a different portal every day of the year. So we are not going to fear anything. We're not going to fear that. We're not going to fear anything religious. We're certainly not going to fear anything spiritual. And we're not going to fear anything political. Okay? So any questions of that? I don't want to be the only one talking. Anybody, any thoughts, questions?
Yeah, Ron, when you mentioned in terms of, I think the statement that Evelyn made about the 5 portals, is that, what was said?
Yes, sir.
I don't know.
Yes.
Well, what I was giving thought to when she mentioned about the 5 portals, I thought about it in terms of the 5 major religions, and how we come to know that religion is man-made, but more importantly, are we breaking down the barriers with regards to how the religion of Buddhism, Judaism, Islam, Christianity, and Catholicism, but in terms of what does that, I'm just kind of relate, what does that mean, to us, or what does it mean to me in terms of these religions, and now us being able to see it in terms of how it has affected us in indoctrination, but moving more now into that spiritual mind, that spiritual significance of our journey as far as, again, the Kemetic and Kushite teachings.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of, like I said, I'm just having some meditations on that in terms of the 5 major religions, and now I'm hearing the 5 portals, but I don't know if Pastor's on the line, but I know it was something that I mentioned to him that I wanted to try to get, his, spiritual or, Kemetic teachings on that, of what it maybe means.
He's logging in now, George. He's logging in now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Those 5 portals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ron.
Well, I had not thought about it from those 5 religions till you said that. The other thing, though, what I thought about when you were talking, what Audrey said.
Ron, we're getting that feedback again. I'm sorry.
Hey guys, everybody, make sure your phones are muted, please. Okay. The first thing I thought about is, I like it if you see talk about from the perspective of the 5 religions, because I thought about what Audrey said yesterday. This is something trying to regain its strength or trying to ignite that flame again that it sees that that is getting weaker and is trying to show some strength again. So this is the last effort of religion, those five religions, trying to be dominant in the earth, trying to dominate man in the earth. So this may be another way of saying that we are about to have a global awakening. People are going to start waking up to who they truly are, and not just listening to who other people say the creator is, and letting themselves be manipulated by that. So thank you, George. Anyone else?
Ron, this is Angela. Do you think it's a distraction? They're trying to, distract, and like, you focus on something and it's like you pulling the person's energy because everybody maybe focus on it, but sometimes they use things to distract people as well.
Well, yeah, it's moved to a place now, Angela, at least, and you guys help me out this, how you see it. I think the same energy that has dominated man uh, for a very long time, especially here in America, it cannot change. It's not a new trick. It's the same thing they've always done, but it's gotten to a point now where people are starting to lift their heads up and think, what if? And I think now is kind of help maybe push them a little harder to try to regain control of things. So I don't see it uh, so much as a new thing as something they're trying to distract us with. I think it's the same kind of uh, energy that we've seen in the earth all along, but we're seeing it now in a bolder and a more in your face kind of way. Actually, from the way that we saw it in the 40s and 50s, but we as a people were not in a position to look at eye to eye, let's say, for lack of a better way of saying it. Somebody help me with this, because I know y'all see it better than I do.
Yeah, I agree, Ron. I think not only not exactly to distract us, but
Yeah,
to sort of reassert themselves.
yes.
Because I mean, nowadays on social media, there's so many people that are walking away from the church. So they're trying to reassert themselves, to reclaim what they think is their dominance. So it's not just for distraction, but it's also kind of trying to send a message or to reassert itself. Anyway, that's what I see.
Thank you. That's a very good point. We I was trying to think of that verse in scripture that talks about we look for signs. We want to see things. We have signs all around us. The thing that Audrey just said to me is a sign. What is it a sign of? Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Focus on who you are. Focus on truth. Focus on understanding what comedic energy is and who you are. Focus on what it means in the beginning. Focus on what living in looks like. What is loving kindness? Focus on those things. And it is only a distraction if you lose your focus. But if we are focused and remain focused on who we are, it cannot distract us. It is just a sign that says, okay, let's keep this going. Let's keep this energy moving. Something else about the winter solstice that I thought was interesting. I think when we look at that, we focus on it's the shortest daylight of the year. But can there be any value in the fact that it is the longest night of the year? It is the longest time for you to ponder, to sit inside of yourself and ponder. There's no reason for us to be afraid of the dark.
You know what, Ron?
Yes, sir.
I apologize. I just got in a while ago.
We
Um,
understand.
the longest night is indicative of the depth of wisdom. No matter how much enlightenment you get from wisdom, there is more left. There's always more wisdom than there is enlightenment. I'm done.
You're right. Thank you. We brought up the winter solstice again from looking at it from a positive perspective, because what we looked at is when we met in Colombia, it was during this time of year as well. And that's when the universe opened the portals for us. It wasn't some artificial thing that religion had to do to try to open portals. So the portals that need to be open are open. So whatever is as and I like what George talked about, the 5 religions. They have lost their power. Those flames cannot be rekindled. So anyone else? Question?
Pastor, this is Evelyn. Ron, I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, go ahead.
Can we get the definition again of winter solstice? And what's the purpose of it?
The winter solstice is when the sun has traveled as far south as it's going to before it goes back, travels north. It rests for 3 days, and then those 3 days, the first day of it is the winter solstice, and the winter solstice continue through those days until the sun begins its trek back north. During the period when it travels south, it travels through every one of the astrological signs, or you know what I'm talking about. And and then in Christianity, they believe that it is a pagan day of worship because of the beginning, the ending of winter. I'm sorry, the beginning of winter. And Christianity believes that is at that point that worship takes place in terms of worshiping during that period of the winter solstice. However, everything that comes out of the east is deemed to be pagan anyway. But the people who started, who understood better what was happening with the astrological bodies, were the Kemites, and they're the ones who mapped the universe before anyone else, and they're the ones who realized that how the sun traveled and how long it stayed at rest and how it started to trek back north. Those 3 days of the winter solstice, or that the rest of the sun was gotten from the Kemites, and it was the SUN, but the Europeans used the SON, and in turn, they put the birth of Jesus during this period, not on the beginning of it, but during the period of the winter solstice. For that reason, in order to bring "quote unquote" pagans into the Catholic Church, but also because there were other belief systems that believed that whose child was killed in the yard in the Bible.
Say again?
The child that she was the queen, and her child was killed, and she said that he would resurrect during that period. Jezebel.
Okay.
I think it was anyway. That was incorporated into it also. So all of these are anyway. I'm done.
Not read that story. That's a good one. I go back and look at that. Just want to add something to it. Today is day 3, okay? Because it started on Saturday, so today is the 3rd day of the winter solstice. The other thing is, and you talk about the pagans. I guess you know, the people believe that it is also a rebirth, opportunity for rebirth, new life, because of the sun being awakened. So I just thought that was important too, part of it.
So my question is, did they come up with these holidays? So it's all about capitalism, is it not? Because they don't give a rip about,
It wasn't about capitalism. None of them were.
yeah,
The holidays
yeah.
were
So
capitalism. They were about religion.
which brings capital, right?
No, ma'am. The reason that
Okay.
the Catholics did holidays was to create rituals that mimicked the rituals that the people who they were forcing into Catholicism were doing. There in South America, some of the Aztec rituals are still incorporated into Catholicism, just like they are in Africa, just like they are in different places in the world where Christianity and Catholicism dominates. So they had everything was controlling people. The whole idea of holidays in relationship to capitalism came into existence at a much later date. Okay.
Okay.
Did you have a question?
So why
Elder?
was holidays necessary? Well, yeah, because I'm like, well, why was holidays necessary then? I mean, I think it's just,
The holidays were necessary in order to control the people. They were not called holidays, they were called rituals. In those days of where the rituals were practiced are the days that were incorporated into Catholicism for the reason of controlling the people, the indigenous people of the land that they had dominated, or the land that they are controlled. Now, you are talking about holidays as we know them today. Of course, Christmas has become a capitalist day, as well as Thanksgiving and Easter and President's Day and Martin Luther King's birthday. Everything, all these days have become opportunities for capitalists to make money. In 1963, Columbus Day was brought into existence because he was considered the major hero of Europeans who founded America. So, and now what is that? Columbus Day is also a day where capitalism takes charge. There are sales, there are advertisements on TV. So what you're talking about, Elvin, these holidays are quite different than the days of rituals during the periods of the conquest of Catholicism. Thank you.
and And so the African days are Kwanzaa, right? Isn't that Kwanzaa
Kwanzaa was
that the Africans celebrate?
Well, Kwanzaa was established by Ron Karanga. He was a philosophy instructor in Los Angeles at the University of California, LA. And he's the one who organized, developed, wrote the principles for Kwanzaa. And the reason he did that is because he recognized how African people were being manipulated by Christianity and by Christmas, by the birth of a child who never existed at all. And so on the 26th, Kwanzaa begins. And from the 26th, there are 7 days that Kwanzaa celebrated. And he is the one who developed those 7 principles for the express purpose of unifying us. And one of the principles is umoja, which is unity. So that's different than the religious days, and it did not have its genesis on the African continent. It had its genesis amongst the Africans in this country. I hope that helped.
Yes, that explains a lot. Thank you.
Have you ever talked to anybody from Africa about Kwanzaa? Is it something that they are aware of?
Absolutely.
How do they feel about it?
When we were in DC, there were times when all of us joined together to celebrate Kwanzaa. That was when I was in school, of course. However, you have to also take into consideration that Africans had been indoctrinated to believe that we were less than them, that we were the criminals in this country, and they should not interact with us. It's only recently that on a larger scale that Africans who were born on the continent have begun to interact with us. And the major thing that caused that was the way that the experiences that they had, like second and third generation of their kids were being killed by policemen, or they were being profiled and arrested for no reasons at all. So when they begun to see that you may separate yourself from us, but you look like us, and you're gonna have the same consequences we have for being Black in America.
Yeah.
So now the other part of that is this: it's hard as hell to get Black folk in this country to celebrate Kwanzaa. The first time that we celebrated Kwanzaa in South Carolina that I know of was in 1973. And the idea of Kwanzaa was brought into Union and Spartanburg simply by us doing it in Union. That was the first celebration that I ever knew in South Carolina.
Okay.
So anyway, we as a people prefer to follow the doctrines of Christianity, the doctrines that enslaved us, as opposed to embracing something that promotes unity, kujichagulia, something that promotes family and interactions and community strength. And I suppose the question may have been raised because it needs to be put in the macro so people can begin to understand, especially Africans, that this is not a pagan holiday as it has been deemed by Christianity. Thank you.
Well, Pastor, it says during the week of Kwanzaa, families and communities come together to share a feast to honor the ancestors, to affirm the bonds between them, and to celebrate African and African American culture.
That's true. Yeah, that's what Kwanzaa is all about.
And everyone, Kwanzaa is for the purpose of us being able to celebrate the achievements, of our people, and not, as Pastor was saying, is a pagan holiday. It doesn't, have anything to do with Christmas, in terms of that pagan holiday, but just an opportunity for us to celebrate our achievements. And so when we say unity, it's exactly what we're doing now in our own way in terms of just appreciating, our ancestors who have given us a pathway to live, that we're able to acknowledge this as we continue to evolve, in terms of who we are, if that resonates. I'm done.
It does. So if we start saying Happy Kwanzaa, we're putting that out in the macro as well, right? When we start understanding that it's our heritage, it's for our ancestors, then everybody else will get it. Am I not correct?
That's been happening for quite a few years now. With people, they even have emojis about Kwanzaa now. So it is pretty prevalent, especially in major cities.
Okay, thank you.
Good discussion.
So that's why us being grown-ups have feelings of this European Christmas Day. That's why we feel so out of touch with it now.
We feel so out of touch with each other because we realize that it was a method of control and a method to empty our pockets. Because think about what Christmas was about. Christmas was about a white dude coming down your chimney in a red suit, giving your kids toys that you've been paying, that you go be paying for the rest of the year. So, quite frankly, my kids never believed in Christmas because I was not going to give credit to the white dude for me working to buy things for my kids. And the first church I had was Mount Tabor. And what I did standing in the pulpit at Mount Tabor was I said to the people, if you don't want your children to know that there is no Santa Claus, then you need to carry them out because I'm getting ready to tell them that there's no Santa Claus. And of course, that was met with anger. But I could not stand there and lie to them and pretend that little Christmas tree and that little dude in that little red suit was real.
Pastor, what's the origin of those words? Are they Kiswahili?
Yes, all of it, the whole Kwanzaa, everything is based on Kiswahili. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Hey, I agree with you and appreciate what you informing us of, Pastor, and some of us anyway. But I see it too. It'll be more universal now. I think this was very much necessary.
Well, if you think about it, there's an effort to usurp that as well as Juneteenth. Do you remember
Yeah.
in Greenville when they were setting up for when we were preparing to celebrate Juneteenth, and the banners of the bunting in Greenville on the street signs had white people on it, not black folks.
Yeah.
So that was no different than the efforts to cast Harriet Tubman as a white lady. And of course, that met with so much resistance, so they walked away from it.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Anything else to grab our attention this evening? Um, Let me ask this. I think on the eve of the new year coming in, I'm hoping we're going to meet next week. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So I may be out of town.
Repeat,
I just, I
repeat
think
that.
we're going to meet next week. Just, I think, just worth, because we usually don't on major holidays. So I just happened to think about it and wanted to bring it up so everybody will know that we are meeting. I should have thought about it yesterday because
Oh,
more people.
I
will
really
know.
believe that is critical. I
Yes.
really do.
I agree. Okay. So if anybody asks, guys, we will be meeting next week. Good discussion. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your energy, your questions, and the discussion. Hope you have a great week and have fun with your family. Yes.
Thank you. Have a good evening. And we'll
Thank
see.
you, and bye, everyone.
Now you get the wheels on.
Bye, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Everybody be safe.